Today's show, we will be talking to Omar with ClearFix. He's going to drop some knowledge on you, so sit back, stay tuned, and enjoy the show. Good day, everyone. This is James, the Ghost That Killer Put Him on a Glass podcast. Got an action-packed episode today, and today's guest is...
Omar from Orange County, California. Company's called ClearFix Auto
ClearFix Auto
Glass,
Glass.
and we say no to
Oh,
cracks.
yes. ClearFix Auto Glass and see no cracks. Before we got broken up there on our first try, our first take, you were in Mexico today. Are you working in Mexico today and then going to go back home, or?
I do some jobs over
That's
here too. Yes. So I got a couple things that I
that's
do here.
amazing. I love the fact that you're already in uniform, ready to go for the day. I love that. Nice professional look, nice customer service presence, and that's one thing that when you and I met back in Orlando, that I really there was a couple things that caught my attention with the way you work. That first of all, your professionalism, with you look professional, but just the way you went through your job, you were so calm, so methodical, so just with the flow of everything that was going on. How long did it take you to realize that that's something that you had to do, was be calm, professional looking? How did you go about getting into that whole mindset?
Well, that's a pretty good question. I just don't know. I mean, I just think that if you like what you do and you want to show the people that you're just willing to do what you can to create a good atmosphere. I mean, I think that's the way I
Okay.
guess I see it. And then after that, I mean, you gotta look professional
Well,
too.
your customer service presence was amazing. I listened to the way you talked to your customers both times you competed. I really paid attention to the way you talk to your customers, because I focus on my customer as well. That's like my main objective, is make sure my customer's comfortable and happy and understands the process. Yours was a little bit better than mine. So what makes you so comfortable around a customer when you're working on their baby or just working on their transportation? What actually is it that helps you be so comfortable around customers?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just want to just give them as much the best I can, and I think by doing that, you kind of relate to them to what they're doing. And one of the things you always want to do is you want to be able to connect with the customer right from the beginning, so you can build trust. Otherwise, what happens is you end up having a lot of problems. You have them lingering, you have them question you things, and sometimes that could be a bad thing. But if you connect with them right away, you'll be able
I
to
love what you
avoid all
said
those
there.
problems.
Create trust. You're creating trust without asking for trust. Like one of the weirdest things is when someone says, "Oh, thank you for trusting me." And you're just like, "Whoa, was I not supposed to?" Like, kind of thing. But you're right. You have to create that connection of trust without actually coming out and saying it. So I like what you said there with the trust. So
hmm
any new techs getting into it, or old techs that are having kind of some trouble with customer callbacks or with customers in general, create that trust from the first moment that you see them, that you meet them. You got to create that bond, that chemistry. And it's not going to happen with everybody, but you can still kind of create some form of, chemistry with everybody, even though it might not be the greatest. You're not going to leave being friends with everybody, but you need to create that trust. And I like what you said there, because that's very important. The trust is very important. And if anybody has the communication skills, brother, it's you, because you put that shit on shine when it comes to customer service, man. I really appreciated that when I watched you compete. Is that every day for you, or was that just on stage?
Yeah, actually, these every day. A
A
lot of
lot of
people
people
hate it.
hate it.
Like other technicians are like, man, you just talk too much. I was like, man, I'm just trying to connect with people. It's how it is. At the end, if you give good customer service, you end up having not only just that car, but you end up building a relationship in the long run where they recommend you for family members and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's kind of a necessity to do. And especially the good thing is that when you connect with them, you find out that you guys are very similar. There's a lot of similarities that make us really understand each other, and then we come to path, and just
Hmm.
now we're just doing the work for them. So it's
Okay.
it's a little bit of both. pleasure and
Okay.
then just getting to know people.
So when you're walking up to someone's vehicle, whether they brought it to you or you're mobile mainly, right? Or do you have a shop? I can't remember. You're mainly mobile. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So when you're
I'm
walking
mobile.
up to a customer's car, and is there any tips you can give our technician friends out there to try to? Because I have a few that I use, a few, I guess psychology based things that I use to try to help relate to the customers. How do you
Hmm.
go about it? Do you just immediately start asking them questions? Do you just rush up to them and be like, "Hi, I'm Omar. Nice to meet you." So, like, I guess, is there any tips you can give to our listeners to try to help with that customer service?
Well, it's just breaking the ice. I used to do door to door sales, so one of the things you want to do is you always want to greet people. It's one of the things a lot of people don't do. And sorry for the sound. It's just
Yeah,
like I
no.
said, I'm in Mexico, so right now I got
Uh,
some guys selling some gas. Um, Very cheering. And that's the way you want to talk to the customers too. So they could build a smile, build a direct contact where you're able just to kind of just open up and then start dialogue with talking about their door glass or windshield or whatever it is that happened, and then they just start telling you like, oh, you know what, my life is kind of sucks because someone broke my window and I was not there, and then they just took my stuff, and you're like, oh man, I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, well, I guess I'm here to fix it today. I'll do what I can, and I hope this doesn't happen to you. And then they just
yep.
start talking to you. You could continue building dialogue by asking what they do. And then they start having more trust, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
they become your friends.
Well, one of the things that I like to do, and maybe you do this. It sounds like you do this as well. First of all, when I'm calling the customer, I always try to be smiling, even if I'm going through a shitty day and I'm having a bad mood. I'm always trying to smile, even though they can't see me on the phone, because people can hear a smile. That's like one of the biggest things that I've been taught over the years. People can hear a smile, they can pick up that in your
Very.
voice. So if you're having a bad day, regroup before you call them. But then once you call them, you're trying to because people like to talk about themselves. So if they start talking about themselves, like the situation you're talking about, your door glass busted, empathize with them. Try to get on that same page because you can hear in their voice what you're coming into. But as soon as I get there, I immediately start picking up cues on where I'm at. If I'm in a parking lot, I start looking at their car for stickers. I start looking to try to see what their hobbies are, because people like to if they have a bunch of kids, or if they have a
Mhm.
kid, looking for car seats in the car, to try to find something. When you get that moment where it's kind of awkward standing by, you have that ready to play. Like, oh, I see that you're into hiking. Man, my wife and I like to hike. What's some of your favorite hiking spots?
Mhm.
To try to relax them, especially when you're using tools that might not look so, I guess, calm and easygoing. You bust out an extractor to get the bottom out, and they're just like, oh my God, you're going to cut my car open. But at that point, you can start talking and relaxing them and making them feel, a little bit more confident in your abilities, because you're protecting their vehicle with all your vehicle protections, but you're also doing it through your words. You're putting them at ease through your words. So make sure you're talking to.
Oh yeah, because
Go ahead.
if you don't do that, what you end up creating is more kind of they start questioning you a little bit more. So the way I like to do things, especially if it's any type of process, either door glass, back glass, or windshield, I always get the customer a head start of what's going to happen. Two reasons why. One is I don't want them to linger around me, and the other is for them to understand exactly the work that's being done. Because a lot of times they'll see videos of people trying to just do random jobs, and they're like, "Oh my God, that guy was fast," but they're not really showing
Mm-hmm.
exactly what they were doing. Or they're just cutting corners, and they don't know. But once you teach them how to see the job that's supposed to be done correctly, well, now they know
Yeah.
who to spot away. And then you build the trust. They like it. They're like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't know this. I mean, I don't want to know this. I just want you to just do the job. I was like, yeah, but
Yeah.
guess what? You need to know this, because if you don't call me again, you go somewhere else. I mean, at least if they're trying to
Yes.
take advantage of you, and
That
that's the
is a
idea.
great point. That is an idea. You are also an educator. You are the expert. You've not put this many years into what you've been doing, or even if you're just starting, the amount of work you're about to learn and the amount of knowledge you're about to gain, you're the expert. So now you become the educator. So that way it relaxes them with what you're doing. They have a better understanding, and just most people are inquisitive anyways. They kind of want to know what you're doing. They kind of want to, and you're right. They see it online. A guy pulls up 15 seconds later, he's got the glass out. 20 seconds later, he's putting it back in. They're not showing the step by step, or they're cutting corners. You explain to them why cutting corners is bad, the safety, every aspect of it. Or they see a guy that's just doing it in his backyard, shade tree mechanic in it. So now you have to become part professor, part educator to that customer to show why that you're a technician, you take pride in what you do, and it matters what you do. So you're right, you have to be an educator because they don't know, and they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and when they don't trust you, they'll come around and be like, "Oh, I think there was something right here in the car." And you're like, "What the hell?" So, one of the other things I would do is I would do live streams, and I would send them to my live stream so they could see the work, as I'm doing the job, and they would basically have all the answers that I just told them before, so they could be able to, not only to just, hear it, but also see it. And when they see it, they're like, "Oh man, I mean, this guy was really telling me the truth. This is what he's doing. This is what is supposed to be done, and this is the right way." A lot of
Well,
them
that's
were
awesome. I
appreciative
never
about that.
even thought about it. I know talking to you in the past that you did something similar for something like that for your customers. I wasn't sure if it was a direct feed or if it was just you took pictures each step of the way. I do remember you and I talking about that in the past. Was one of the things that you didn't like about auto glass technician competition was you couldn't have your digital because you always took pictures along the way. But the live stream, is that a dedicated link for them only? Or is it for everybody? Like anybody can come watch Omar on a live stream do a windshield.
It it was for everybody, but every now and then I would have like little glitches because I think people would just try to like over. Sometimes they ban you from doing the videos,
Mm-hmm.
so it would kind of suck for me. Regardless, at the end of the day, I didn't care because I wanted just a customer to see what I'm doing, and because it's
Mm-hmm.
recorded, it's forever. So I wanted it for always be forever. So if they ever want to go back and say, "Hey, you know what? This guy did this job for me," well, they could go back and look at it. It's like a little memory that I
Yeah,
leave for them.
and when
And
they're
it's
also
there forever.
recommending you to their friends, to their colleagues, they can be like, "Look, he did this. Look, he showed me. There's video of it. There's and then he's putting it on his whatever sites or this is because it also you entice them with that little bit
Hmm.
of knowledge or recognition in the community. Like, hey, look, my car was being worked on by Omar. Look at his site. He has so many views. Or you help them get that little bit of I guess influencer credit, a little influencer cred. So I like that's awesome, man. That is such a cool thing to do.
Well, it it's just the assurance for them to know that the service is done exactly what they were
Mm.
told to that was going to be, and that gives them a lot of confidence to know that the job is done right. Um, it kind of sucks them when they linger, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's their car. But if they're able to sit down in their house, without having to come out, I mean, I think that's even better because they're
Yeah.
just literally just watching you you know and some love it, man. They're like, whoa, man, I mean, I haven't seen this. I will see videos, but they're all cut, and it's just little pieces. I'm like, nah, man, I want you to see my mistakes. I want you to see everything I do. Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm accountable for it. you know and that's one of the things that I've always kind of just press on my own personal, I guess, mission in
Well,
my
also,
jobs. If there's any
that's right, and that's
accountability, you
that's a
take it.
sign of a leader. That's a sign of a leader. A leader is being held accountable for every action they make. So, kudos to you for being a leader in our industry by taking the reins and being like, I want you to see the mistakes. I want you to see the triumphs. I want you to see, what's going on with your vehicle. I always just carried an extra fold out chair, like one of those little ones you get at like mine was Academy Sports Chair. And
Hmm.
I would be like, if you want to watch, perfect. Sit in this. Here's your pair of safety glasses. Yeah, only thing I ask is I'll be talking to you the whole time, but the only thing I ask is if I'm walking around with the windshield in my hands, please step back. Whether it be the old windshield or the new windshield, please step back because I want to make sure I have plenty of room. But other than that, you're more than welcome to, watch. Don't touch anything once I start because you're, I explain cross contamination to them. You know, because the worst thing in the world, and I know this has happened to you because it's happened to every tech. You pull that windshield out, and the little old dude runs up with armor all in a rag because he's going to get that part of the dash he ain't able to get. And you're just like, no, don't do it. I'm going to wipe your dash down anyways, you know. Yeah, he's throwing your covers off and onto the floor because he wants the
Oh
armor
yeah.
all. I'm like, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. Yeah.
Well, I just tell him, look, man, I think you're pretty much worse things into your car by doing this. You know, I think you should wait. All right, do it after I'm done with the job. All right. But you know, some will understand. Some will just take it a little bit. You know, kind of like you're hounding at them, but it's
Yeah,
not. It's
no.
for their own protection. You know that when you stay firm with that,
Yes, and
it changes.
also I know it's
Go
the
ahead.
customer's vehicle. You know it's the customer's vehicle, but you are the expert. You are the expert. If you're working on the car, you are the expert. There are certain non-negotiables, and you don't have to be rude about it, but you have to be firm about it. Like Omar just said, you are the expert. There are certain non-negotiables that you just, but don't hesitate to let them watch. Have, you know, if you want them to sit out of the way, or like Omar does, put them on video so they don't, you know, they don't linger, but they still see everything, so they're able to be in the comfort of their own homes. And on hot days when people have AC in the house, they want to be inside anyways. You don't even want to be outside, you know, kind of thing. But
Oh
or if
yeah.
it's winter time and they want to be in the heat, the live stream is amazing. I love that tip. But also remember, like he said, you're the expert. You've done all this training. You've invested in yourself. So stand firm on certain things. Don't be like, oh yeah, go ahead and wash that, or you no. When I'm done, you know, I had one little old dude. I'll tell you a story real quick. I had one little old dude. He was doing that, and I'm like, dude, you got to stop. Like every time I would go to turn around, I would see him kind of. I'm like, you got to stop. He's like, well, I don't know how to armor all the dash without getting it all over my window. I said, you put it on the rag first. What do you mean? You put it on the rag
Yeah.
first. And so I was like, I'll tell you what, when I'm done, and I remove my dash covers, I will show you how to do it. So I took 10 minutes, which 10 minutes is a lot of time for people who are mobile. So it took me a while to show him how to stand
Hmm.
outside of his car, you know, wet his rag, and then wipe his dash to where he didn't get it all over his windows while he was doing it. And he was like, oh man, you know how long I've been doing it wrong and being mad about, you know, all those little armor all dots all over my inside of my windshield. And I was like, hey, you only know what you know. You only know what you know. So, but I had to stand firm on it, dude. I had to stand firm because I'm like,
Exactly.
dude, you're going to mess up your whole windshield, bro. Like, because if it doesn't stick right there and the airbag goes off, then oh, yeah. But you're,
You got to, man. You got to be firm every now and then. There's certain cultures sometimes that are a little more aggressive. You know, and it's because just the upbringing, you know, and the way they're taught how to do things, you know, that which sometimes it's a normal thing, you know. But at the end, what they're looking for
mhm,
is that little fight, you know, where you have to kind of teach them exactly and staying firm, just like you said. Because if you don't, what they're gonna do is they're gonna do other things, and then you're like, hey man, now you're in my way. You know, like, dude, I just told you one night, all right. You want me to be rude? All right, I'll be
uh,
rude, all right. But I don't
yeah,
want to be rude because I want to be nice. You know, I'm here to do a job. Let me just finish it. But it, it's we get all the personalities that we get in our job, you know, and if we understand them, we could be able to prevent those things, you know, like we can kind of rehash from every people that we see, and that's why, you know, making a smile, connect with them, you know, ask them how their day is. You know, you break those barriers right away. So at that point, now he's kind of trusting you more, and they're
yeah,
letting you do the job. You know, after the first time, you know, I had a customer once that was very anal, like he wouldn't leave at all, and it was the first time I did a job, right? After I removed the windshield, he's like, "All right, I'm out," and I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "You're not gonna wait until I'm done?" You know, like, what's wrong with you? He's like, "Oh, I saw what I needed to see. All right, I'm heading out, and I'll come back later." And I was like, "Okay." Then after I'm done with the job, you know, he calls me again for a family member, and then
yeah.
I don't even see him anymore. He just goes inside and just stays. And I was like, "Dude, really? Like, you're not gonna hang out with me now?" You're like, no, man, I know what you're doing. All right, I
Yeah.
trust you. I'm like, oh, dude, I
Yeah.
mean, you should have done that in the
Yeah.
beginning. But
But I mean, people are going to be apprehensive because you're taking
the,
out a, you know, the windshield, the door glass, the back glass. You're working on a part of their vehicle. So at first, um, and especially people who don't have a bunch of money and this car is their reliable transportation, or this car is the only thing they have, be a little apprehensive at first, because they're just like, they may have just heard a bunch of horror stories, or they've just like, man, I want to make sure this person knows what they're doing when they're working on my, so he saw the hardest part was getting the glass out, and he seen you get the glass out. He was like, this guy got it.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a handle, man. He took it out so easy. It was just so whoop, whoop, and out he was at. So yeah, you built that trust, and you showed them that, you are the expert, because, some people just don't care in this industry, unfortunately. So
Yeah, and the other times, when you set the glass, that's when they really do freak out, because they're like, I mean, I'm not that big, I'm pretty tiny. So they see me set the glass and they're like, "Whoa, dude, you're able to carry that glass?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "This is easy work, man." And they're like, "Oh, I don't know." And I was like, "Well, at first it was big, now it's tiny."
yeah, I could see the second guessing, like of because the glass it looks pretty big when it's out of the vehicle. It really does. Like in the vehicle, it changes the way that it, just optically, it looks different. But outside, sitting on the rack, people see that glass like, man, that's big. And it's like, no, really, dude, this is a Toyota, Corolla. That's not a very big piece of glass.
Exactly. You move it like if it's just like a little French, just moving like it's a little doll, and they're like, "Whoa!" I mean, you're carrying that thing very easy. Then they set the glass, and they're like, "Man, your job is really hard." I was like, "No, man, my job is super easy. Like it's
Yeah, it's public
just the way it
perception.
is."
Everyone thinks what we do is, and although I will say this, Omar, it takes a while to make it look easy. All right. So anytime someone makes something look easy, it's because of repetition.
It really does.
So it's not easy, but we've taken the time to invest in our craft for it to now be easy. But just not anybody off the street can just jump in and figure it out. I mean, some people will be able to do that, but very few will be able to do that.
Oh yeah, I had a surgeon one time. We were just doing the job, and then when I'm doing the job, I'm removing the windshield, and then she looks at me and she's like, "You're very precise. You're like a surgeon." I was
Yeah,
like, "Yeah,
that's
I
right.
fix faces." And then after I was done, she's like, "I know you've been doing this for a while." I was like, "No, man,
I
this is
love
my
that.
first job. What are you talking about?" Yeah, I think I did okay.
I love the question of how long you been doing this, and then I'm like, I don't know. This is like my second car. Like today, like no, this is just like my second
Yeah.
car. Oh, and to watch their face change, and then you just start giggling. You're like, no, I've been doing this for a minute, kind of thing. But I love it. Like that's a little bit of back and forth that you can develop with certain customers, and they're just like you're joking with them, and then you tell them that, and they're just like, because if you keep straight face, they really think you're serious, and it's pretty funny to do. Like, yeah, that's my first car. What do you mean? Oh, I did really good. Sweet. Can you call my boss and tell him that?
Yeah, yeah, like I didn't know I was this good, man. I think I'm gonna make this
Yeah,
as a full-time job. And like, oh, really? I was like, yeah. I mean, what do you think I did? You think it's gonna leak? Like, oh, well, hope not, Omar. I was like, no, I won't leak. I mean, but if you
yes,
do, I mean, if it does, call me.
absolutely,
I mean, I'll take care of
absolutely. So
it.
that's a little bit of things a little bit of fun you can have with your customers once you build that relationship. We're talking right now to help the technicians out there and the business owners that are bringing technicians into this game, and that are maybe the technicians and the one answering the phone and the one scheduling the work and wearing all the hats. Build that connection right off of the get, and that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on, Omar. Is we've talked about it a few times over the years, but my big aha moment with you was watching you with your customer. That was for me the big like, yeah, this guy cares. He cares about what he does.
Well, I do what I can, man. I think if you end up loving what you do, you no longer have a job. I mean, you're just helping people, and I think that's the also way of being able to teach other technicians. One thing is I want to say shout out
Yeah.
to David Doe. You know, my great friend. Without him, I wouldn't be in this today. So he's a great guy.
Yeah,
Bye
he
bye
was on the
cracks.
show last week's show. He was last week's show, and we talked about you, and I was like, yeah, I met him in Orlando, and we had a great time, and yeah, he's good people. Like I know you. You and I are friends. I didn't know him prior to the show. So actually get like finding out that you
Hmm.
two were so close, and then that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to find out. I was like, oh man, yeah, Omar, that dude's solid.
Oh, thanks, man. I just do what I can. I think at the end of the day, like I said, if you're genuine with people, and you really show them, that the type of personality you are, I mean, most people will then tend to respect you because there's no fault of what you do. You just show, just love and just blind generosity to people, and you become good friends, or you just as a customer, they'll love it and they'll call you again, or they'll
Yep,
recommend to their
that's
family.
that's great. That's great advertisement is the you know build that relationship so that way word of mouth it travels pretty far. I mean, yes, you do have to advertise, you do have to build, but word of mouth travels pretty far. And if you got those recommendations, you're already coming
Oh
in
yeah.
on a footing of respect because they respect you because you've done such a good job with their family member, their friend. So then you're already you're coming in with a big old pat on your back, like, oh yeah, you guys know I'm good, kind of thing. So do what you can to make sure you make those first impressions stick because it'll lead to more work down the road. That's for sure.
It it really does, man. And the enjoyment of the person seeing their windshield, at a normal state, it's pretty impressive, because we do a lot of cool stuff as technicians. You know, the windshield is a big part of the car, regardless whatever most people think. And once you're done with the job, and they'll see it, and they're like, "Oh man, I have no crack no more. Like I'm able to see clear now." And you get those questions, or they'll say like, "Man, I didn't know my car looked that nice." And you're like, "Well, yeah, the windshield does a big change.
Mm.
It shines. It's what you see, and it's cool, man. I mean, I like what I do. And I think imposing the same type of energy with people, that are in the industry or starting, is very important, because that's what will always make them to strive for more. And they'll always put more than 100% in what they do, and the craftsman will always tend to get better and better.
Uh,
To avoid just the idea of having them think that every
yes.
car is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to go into thinking every car is going to be a nightmare, and most usually, if you keep your mind, what I've learned over the years, because I've had those freak out moments, I've had those panic moments, those, oh my God, I'm not getting through this job in time because I got this and this and this to do. The one thing that I have learned over the years is to regroup, stop, regroup, and then move forward. Take your time to figure it out because you'll figure out ways on the next job to make it go smoother because it's something you've done before. You know, it, at the end of the day, it's a vehicle and it can be fixed. There's very few things you can do to a vehicle that won't be able to be fixed. Pretty much everything can be fixed on a vehicle. So take your mistakes, learn from your mistakes, stay calm, move through your mistakes. And I can't say that I learned that on my own because I'm a naturally excitable person. But I was blessed to work with James Thompson for many, 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 many years. And this dude he's pretty much as even keeled as it comes. Like I've known him for such a long time, and he doesn't get excited about things. And I don't know if that's where he grew up working around cars or what, but I actually learned so much from him about when something starts to snowball. If you want that snowball to keep rolling, keep getting excited, keep getting upset and excited. He's like, you want that snowball to stop? Take a second, relax, think about what's going on, and then move forward.
Exactly, and that's what I do sometimes. I sometimes tell people, like, if you find a trouble on doing certain things, just move to something else, distract yourself for a second, then come
Mm,
back with a clear mind, and then you'll be able to finish that thing that you were doing. Or sometimes you might have to come back, and when you come back in a clear mind, and then when you look at the things that you were doing, you're like, oh geez, like I can't believe
yep,
I missed this step. Or you're like, dude, I could have made it more easier if I would have just done this. And it's
yep,
the learning purpose of it. You end up getting better and better, and then next time you see another car, you're like, I'm not doing
yeah.
that again. And then when you have people that you work together, sometimes I like to work
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of people, I think you actually increase your
Hmm.
productivity when you have a good energy. And not only that, but the people that you're working with, we both learn. You know, it's not like you're just only teaching. You both learn as people, because as teachers, we're
Hmm.
also students, and we never stop being students. Because if we become the main teacher, then that means that we learned everything. But in this industry, you can't learn
In
everything.
life, you can't learn everything. You just can't. You just can't. And I
Exactly.
like your tip about moving to something different and coming back. I've used that many times. Like I can't get a for some reason. Sometimes those stupid covers on the rearview mirrors give me the biggest headache ever.
Oh yeah.
So I'll try for a few minutes, and if I can't get them, I'll go and start putting something else together, or start cleaning something else, or start and then come back and try it again to get it. Like taking them apart is usually not too bad. It's putting them back together and getting everything to slide and look as perfect. Because if it's offset or doesn't look right, it bothers me. So like to try to get everything back to get so I have stopped, went and cleaned all the windows again, come back. I have stopped and swept the floorboards, or finished putting something on, or just done anything to distract my mind to come back and then get it to go to into place. Because I don't know what it is about those covers, but man, there are times they just fuck me up.
They could be really bad. One of the ones I used to hate a lot was the Tesla,
Yep.
the mirror bracket. When you remove any Tesla, I mean that bracket is so tight, so well engineered. Once you get the hint, the
Mm.
idea of how to remove them, you won't have any problems anymore. But at first, when you're trying to get them out, I mean they're tight,
Yep.
man. They're really tight. But once you get that right pressure, man, I got the right pressure, and then once I figured that out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get in there, and you get it out, and you're like, all right. It took me 15 minutes one time, like now it's like 2 3 seconds, bam, out. But it was a lot stressing sometimes, but
Yep.
it's just part of the job. We have to just adapt and be able to learn, and
Mm-hmm.
understand things that we do hate, because if we don't understand it, then we won't be
That's
able to
that.
find a solution. We'll just
Yep.
stay in the same course.
Yeah, you got to be part MacGyver in this. I 100% have always said you've got to have one of those problem solving minds. Like MacGyver always had a problem solving mind. Oh yeah, well we're facing an uphill battle, but let's take some bubble gum and a rubber band and make us fly or something. You know what I mean? Like you always have to have that. Yeah, you have to have that problem
Exactly.
solving mindset, and it makes the job easier if you're inquisitive and you've got that problem solving mindset of okay, there is a hill here, but I got to figure out how to get up and over it. That's the one thing to keep in mind. Make sure you keep an open mind to solving problems.
Exactly. It's one of the things that I also kind of just embed into the people that I work with too. You just have to just kind of just understand that, we're going to become engineers. We're going to be doing things that most people will probably say like, oh, why would you do that? It was like, well, because there's no other way. I mean, if I don't do this, I mean, things are not going to be coming out the way it needs to be come out. So you just have to just always understand that we're going to be
Yep.
always on our toes. And when we see that, we start to kind of realize, I was like, hey, you know what, man, I mean, I guess I could do it. Like,
Yeah.
it ain't no biggie.
Yeah.
Everything's okay.
That's awesome. Yeah. Ain't no biggie. That ain't no biggie. You need to get a sticker. You need to put it on your toolbox. Ain't no biggie. And that's all you need to every time you start. Yeah. Every time you get
Yeah, just
distracted or
relax.
get to that point where just like, look over, it's like ain't no biggie. Okay, I can figure this out. I can figure this out. That's like a good mantra to remind yourself that you can figure something out. Ain't no biggie. Love it.
Not at all, man. And if someone
Yes.
did it, you could do it.
Yes.
You know, The- 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 the-
Love that. If someone else did it, someone designed it, they put it together at some point, you can do it. Because the only thing that separates us as humans is our own minds limiting what we can accomplish. That's it.
exactly. I feel like I
Yeah,
should be
right.
building a car now.
Get yourself all excited. Let's go design a car and let's get it together, get the welding
Yeah.
going and stuff. But yeah. All right, man. I won't keep you too much longer because we're about 35 minutes in. I know you got work to do and you got to get back up into Orange County and everything. I appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and help our listeners progress in their craft. That's the main thing with this show. I want to make sure we're progressing in our craft. I'm going to let you leave us with some final words, man.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you ever need any help in Orange County, I'm always here to help, and kind of change the perspective of the way we see things because sometimes we can have certain jobs that could kind of break us apart. But with the right energy and the right motivation, I think that you'll be able to find the solutions much faster, and then you'll enjoy the job, and you won't be able to see the same perspective that you saw in the beginning. So always here to help. Tips or whatever, if I could, guide you to some direction, I'm always open.
All right. Say no to
And
crack.
say no to
Say no to
cracks.
crack. Let's take some crack off the street. So, anyways, hit Omar up if you need to go through the show or you need however you need to do it. Get a hold of Omar, get a hold of me. But everybody, thanks for listening. This show is brought to you by your good friends at Put 'em on the Glass podcast. Oh, no, seriously. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, supporting the show. And the best way you can support the show is by believing in yourself, supporting yourself, striving to get better every day, be more professional. Just take yourself seriously. So thank you from all of us here at Put 'em on the Glass. We appreciate every single one of you.